I watched Tyler Madison override 3 critical security protocols at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night, and I knew right then he'd just handed our enemies the keys to America's missile defense system. The timestamp glowed on my home computer screen as I monitored the Meridian Defense System logs from my recovery chair. My knee surgery had been minor, arthroscopic cleanup from an old Navy injury, but doctor's orders were to work from home for a few days. Lucky thing too, because if I'd been in the office, Tyler would have made sure I never saw what he was doing. My name is Robert Stevenson. I'm 58 years old, and until that moment, I was Senior Infrastructure Security Director at Blackstone Defense Systems, one of the biggest government contractors in Virginia. I'd spent 25 years in the Navy working on classified communications and defense systems, then another 15 years at Blackstone building their cybersecurity division from scratch. Every protocol Tyler just bypassed, every security layer he'd just stripped away, I'd put those there for a reason. The 3 protocols Tyler disabled weren't just bureaucratic red tape. They were the digital equivalent of blast doors on a submarine. Protocol 7 required dual authorization for any changes to missile defense parameters. Protocol 12 mandated 72-hour testing periods for new software deployments. Protocol 15 created automated alerts whenever someone accessed certain classified databases. Tyler had just blown through all 3 like they were suggestions instead of federal requirements. I grabbed my secure phone and started documenting everything. Screenshots of the bypassed systems, timestamps of unauthorized access, records of which classified databases Tyler's new software update could now reach. My hands were steady as I worked, old habits from the Navy. When something goes wrong on a submarine, you don't panic. You document, you report, you fix the problem. But this problem wasn't mine to fix anymore. Tyler had made sure of that. The next morning, I was still compiling evidence when my laptop chimed with a new email. Company-wide distribution sent to every employee at Blackstone Defense Systems. The subject line read, "Organizational restructuring, effective immediately." I opened it and felt my blood pressure spike. Team, as we accelerate Blackstone's digital transformation, we must move beyond outdated security approaches that hinder innovation. Effective immediately, Robert Stevenson's position as Senior Infrastructure Security Director has been eliminated. His traditional methodologies, while once valuable, no longer align with our forward-thinking cybersecurity strategy. Mr. Stevenson's access credentials have been revoked and his office cleared. We appreciate his past service and wish him well in his future endeavors. Tyler Madison, VP Digital Innovation. I read it twice, then a third time. Tyler had fired me in a mass email to the entire company. Not through HR, not with proper documentation, not even with a phone call. A public execution disguised as corporate restructuring. My wife Sarah looked up from her morning medications. She was 3 months into chemo treatments for breast cancer. "Bad news?" she asked, reading my expression. I turned the laptop toward her. She read Tyler's email, her jaw tightening with each line. "That little bastard," she said finally. Sarah didn't swear often, but cancer treatments had shortened her patience for nonsense. "He doesn't know what he's done," I told her. "Those security protocols I designed aren't just company policy, they're federal requirements. Tyler just violated about 6 different laws because he thinks proper procedures slow down innovation." My phone rang before Sarah could respond. James Harper from the Pentagon, our primary government liaison. His voice was tight when I answered. "Bob, what the hell is happening over there? I just got a call from our cybersecurity team. They're showing massive vulnerabilities in the Meridian system as of last night." I walked James through what I'd documented. Tyler's midnight protocol bypasses, the unauthorized software deployment, the exposed classified databases. With each detail, James's responses got shorter and more clipped. "Jesus Christ, Bob, how bad is this? James, if someone wanted to map our entire early warning system for ballistic missiles, Tyler just gave them a roadmap and the keys to the building." There was a long pause. "Bob, you said Tyler fired you after he did this?" The timestamps don't lie. He bypassed the protocols at 11:47 p.m. The termination email went out at 8:15 a.m. the next morning. "Son of a bitch knew exactly what he was doing," James muttered. "Bob, I need you to compile everything you've got. Every screenshot, every timestamp, every violation. Can you have that to me by end of business today?" "Already done," I said. But James, there's something else. Tyler's planning a live demonstration of the new system for Pentagon Brass next Friday. If those vulnerabilities are still open during that demo, they won't be. I'm shutting down the entire Meridian network as of right now. Bob, this goes way beyond corporate politics. Tyler may have just committed federal crimes related to national security. After I hung up, Sarah reached over and squeezed my hand. You know what this means, don't you? I looked at her. This woman who'd stood by me through 25 years of Navy deployments and another 15 years of defense contractor stress, who was fighting cancer with the same quiet determination she'd shown through everything else life had thrown at us. It means Tyler Madison is about to learn why those security protocols exist, I said. And for the first time since reading that email, I smiled. The real war was just beginning. Within an hour of my call with James, my secure phone was buzzing nonstop. First call came from Diana Walsh, Blackstone's senior legal counsel. Her voice was carefully controlled, the way lawyers sound when they're trying not to panic. Bob, we need to talk, not over the phone. Can you meet me somewhere off-site? Diana, Tyler just fired me. I don't think Blackstone wants me meeting with anyone. Tyler doesn't speak for Blackstone's legal department, and Tyler may have just exposed the company to federal prosecution. Meet me at Murphy's Diner on Route 7 in an hour. Come alone. Murphy's was the kind of place where defense contractors and Pentagon officials met when they didn't want to be seen together. Vinyl booths, terrible coffee, and background noise that made eavesdropping impossible. Diana was already there when I arrived, hunched over a cup of coffee in a back corner booth. She looked like she hadn't slept. Bob, tell me you have documentation of everything Tyler did last night. I slid a flash drive across the table. Screenshots, system logs, timestamps, everything's there. Diana plugged it into her laptop and scrolled through the files. Her face got paler with each page. Jesus, Bob. Tyler didn't just violate company policy. He violated the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, the National Defense Authorization Act, and about 3 other federal statutes I can think of off the top of my head. I tried to warn him about proper procedures, I said. He told me I was stuck in the past. The past where we followed federal law? Diana's voice was getting sharper. Bob, Tyler's father sits on our board of directors. Richard Madison has been pushing for aggressive modernization of our security protocols. I think Tyler was trying to impress Daddy by proving the old guard was unnecessary. That explained a lot. Tyler wasn't just some ambitious kid trying to make his mark. He was the boss's son, handed a VP title and told to shake things up. Classic nepotism combined with dangerous incompetence. Diana, what's going to happen when federal investigators start asking questions? She closed the laptop and looked directly at me. Bob, they're not going to start asking questions. They already are. I got a call from the FBI's cybercrime division 20 minutes before I called you. They want to interview Tyler, his entire team, and anyone with access to the Meridian system. Your name came up. My coffee suddenly tasted bitter. As a suspect? As a witness. You designed most of the security protocols Tyler bypassed. They need you to explain what those protocols were supposed to prevent. I thought about that for a moment. 25 years in the Navy had taught me that when federal investigators want to talk to you, you cooperate fully and honestly, no matter who it might hurt. When do they want to meet? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., FBI, field office in Alexandria. Bob, there's something else. Tyler's been telling people you sabotaged the system before you left. He's claiming the vulnerabilities were pre-existing, that you deliberately left security gaps to make him look bad. I almost laughed. Diana, every change I made to those systems was logged and approved through proper channels. I've got 15 years of documentation showing exactly what security measures were in place when I managed them. I know. And so will the investigators. But Tyler's hired expensive lawyers, and his father is calling in favors. This is going to get messy before it gets better. Let it get messy. I didn't spend 25 years defending this country just to watch some spoiled kid put American lives at risk because proper procedures inconvenience him. Diana slid a business card across the table. This is Agent Rebecca Martinez from the FBI Cybercrime Division. She's leading the investigation. Call her tonight, Bob. Tell her exactly what you told me. When I got home, Sarah was napping on the couch, exhausted from her morning chemo session. I sat quietly in my home office and called Agent Martinez. Her voice was crisp, professional, and completely focused. Mr. Stevenson, I understand you have information relevant to potential security violations at Blackstone Defense Systems. I walked her through everything. Tyler's midnight protocol bypasses, the exposed databases, the federal requirements he'd violated. Agent Martinez asked detailed questions about system architecture, classification levels, and potential damage assessments. This wasn't some junior agent learning as she went. She knew exactly what Tyler had done and why it mattered. Mr. Stevenson, can you be available for a formal interview tomorrow morning? Yes, ma'am. Good. Bring any documentation you have. And Mr. Stevenson, don't discuss this investigation with anyone at Blackstone except Ms. Walsh. We have reason to believe other employees may have been involved in circumventing security protocols. After I hung up, I sat in the quiet of my office thinking about what Agent Martinez had just told me. Other employees involved. That meant Tyler hadn't acted alone. He'd had help, maybe even encouragement from other people at Blackstone. Sarah appeared in the doorway, moving slowly but determinedly. How bad is it? She asked. Tyler may have committed federal crimes related to national security. The FBI is involved. I'm giving a formal statement tomorrow. She sat down in the chair across from my desk, the one where she used to help me review classified reports in the early days of my career. And Tyler's trying to blame you? He's claiming I sabotaged the system to make him look bad. Sarah's eyes flashed with anger. That little shit doesn't know who he's messing with. I looked at my wife, this woman who'd been my anchor through decades of high-pressure, high-stakes work, who was fighting cancer with the same methodical determination she'd brought to everything else, who'd just used language that would make a sailor blush because someone was threatening her husband's reputation. No, I said, he doesn't. But he's about to find out. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the oath I'd taken when I joined the Navy, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Tyler Madison might not be a foreign agent, but his reckless arrogance had created vulnerabilities that foreign agents could exploit. My oath didn't have an expiration date. The FBI field office in Alexandria looked exactly like what you'd expect. Concrete and glass, American flags, and security checkpoints that meant business. Agent Martinez met me in the lobby at exactly 9 a.m. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe early 40s, but she carried herself with the confidence of someone who'd seen enough cybercrime cases to know when something was serious. Mr. Stevenson, thank you for coming in. We have a lot to discuss. The interview room was sparse. Table, chairs, recording equipment. Agent Martinez set up a digital recorder and placed a thick file folder on the table between us. Before we begin, I need you to understand the scope of this investigation. We're not just looking at security protocol violations. We're investigating potential violations of federal laws designed to protect classified defense systems. The penalties for these violations can include substantial prison time. I nodded. Agent Martinez, I spent 25 years with security clearances. I understand the stakes. Good. Now walk me through exactly what Tyler Madison did on Tuesday night. For the next 2 hours, I detailed every aspect of Tyler's security bypasses. Agent Martinez asked precise questions about system architecture, classification levels, and potential damage assessments. She clearly understood both the technical and legal implications of what Tyler had done. Mr. Stevenson, in your professional opinion, what could a hostile actor accomplish with the vulnerabilities Mr. Madison created? I thought carefully before answering. Agent Martinez, the Meridian Defense System coordinates early warning networks for ballistic missile threats. Tyler's bypasses exposed real-time tracking data, response protocols, and system vulnerabilities. A sophisticated adversary could potentially map our entire defensive grid. She made notes, then looked up sharply. And Mr. Madison terminated your employment the morning after creating these vulnerabilities? Yes, ma'am. The termination email was sent company-wide at 8:15 a.m., roughly 9 hours after he bypassed the security protocols. Agent Martinez leaned back in her chair. Mr. Stevenson, Tyler Madison has claimed that these vulnerabilities were pre-existing, that you failed to properly secure the systems during your tenure. How do you respond to that allegation? I opened my briefcase and pulled out a thick binder. Agent Martinez, this contains documentation of every security update, patch, and protocol implementation I oversaw in 15 years at Blackstone. Every change was logged, approved through proper channels, and tested according to federal requirements. The vulnerabilities Tyler created didn't exist before Tuesday night. She flipped through the documentation, stopping occasionally to examine specific entries. This is extremely thorough record-keeping, Navy training. When you're responsible for classified systems, documentation isn't optional. Agent Martinez's phone buzzed. She glanced at the message, then looked at me with something that might have been satisfaction. "Mr. Stevenson, we've just received some additional evidence." It seems Mr. Madison sent several text messages to colleagues after bypassing the security protocols. One message, sent at 11:52 p.m. Tuesday, reads, "Finally cleared out the roadblocks. Time to show these Pentagon dinosaurs what real innovation looks like." I felt a cold satisfaction settling in my chest. Tyler had documented his own federal crimes. "There's more," Agent Martinez continued. "We found emails between Tyler Madison and his father discussing plans to eliminate legacy security obstacles and accelerate modernization regardless of bureaucratic resistance. It appears this wasn't an impulsive decision. Agent Martinez, Richard Madison is on Blackstone's board of directors. Are you saying this was coordinated?" "I'm saying our investigation has expanded beyond Tyler Madison. We're now looking at potential conspiracy charges related to willful violation of national security protocols." The interview concluded with Agent Martinez explaining next steps. Tyler would be arrested within 48 hours. Richard Madison would be questioned about his role in encouraging security protocol violations. Blackstone Defense Systems would face a comprehensive audit of all classified projects. "Mr. Stevenson, one final question. Are you willing to testify before a congressional oversight committee about these security failures?" I thought about my oath to defend the Constitution. "Yes, ma'am. Absolutely." When I got home, Sarah was in the kitchen preparing lunch, moving more slowly than usual but maintaining her routine with stubborn determination. Cancer wasn't going to change who she was. "How did it go?" she asked. "Tyler's going to be arrested. The FBI has text messages where he bragged about bypassing security protocols. His father might be charged as co-conspirator." Sarah smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her in weeks. "Good. That arrogant little bastard put people's lives at risk because he thought he knew better than everyone else." My phone rang before I could respond. James Harper from the Pentagon, and his voice was tight with controlled anger. "Bob, I just got briefed on the FBI investigation. Tyler Madison bypassed protocols that protect early warning systems for ballistic missiles. This isn't just cybercrime, it's potential treason. James, I tried to warn him about proper procedures. He told me I was stuck in the past. The past where we followed federal law and protected American lives. Bob, I've got some news. Tyler's Pentagon demonstration scheduled for Friday has been canceled. Instead, he'll be testifying before Congress about how he compromised national security systems. Congressional hearing. House Subcommittee on Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Protection. They want to understand how a 29-year-old VP was able to override federal security protocols without anyone stopping him. You'll be testifying as the expert witness on what those protocols were designed to prevent." I hung up and looked at Sarah. She was watching me with the expression she'd worn during my most dangerous Navy deployments. Proud, worried, and absolutely certain I was doing the right thing. "Congressional hearing," I told her. "About time," she said. "Maybe now people will understand why experience matters in jobs where mistakes get people killed." That afternoon, the news broke. FBI arrests defense contractor executive for cybersecurity violations. Tyler's picture was all over CNN, looking shocked and indignant as federal agents led him away in handcuffs. The reporter mentioned ongoing investigations into potential national security breaches. My phone started ringing immediately. Reporters, former colleagues, even some old Navy buddies who'd seen the news. I ignored most of them, but when Congressman Mike Rodriguez's office called about the upcoming hearing, I took that call. "Mr. Stevenson, the American people need to understand how close we came to a catastrophic security breach. Your testimony will help ensure this never happens again. The real reckoning was just beginning." The congressional hearing was scheduled for the following Thursday. I spent 3 days preparing with Congressman Rodriguez's staff, reviewing my testimony and the evidence I'd present. The hearing room would be packed. C-SPAN cameras, national media, and defense industry executives all watching as Tyler Madison's reckless decisions were laid bare for public scrutiny. Sarah insisted on coming with me to Washington, despite her chemo fatigue. "I've been with you through 25 years of Navy service and 15 years of defense contractor stress," she said. I'm not missing the moment when everyone finally understands what you've been protecting all these years. We drove down to D.C. the night before, staying in a hotel near Capitol Hill. Sarah was tired but determined, and I could see the fierce pride in her eyes. This wasn't just about vindicating my career. It was about validating decades of careful, methodical work that had kept American defense systems secure. The hearing room was everything I'd expected, and more. Cameras, reporters, packed gallery. Tyler sat at the witness table looking pale and nervous, flanked by expensive lawyers. His father, Richard, had been indicted separately and wasn't present. Across the room, I recognized several Blackstone executives looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. Congressman Rodriguez called the hearing to order. Today, we examine how a single individual was able to compromise classified defense systems, potentially exposing American military assets to foreign adversaries. Our first witness is Robert Stevenson, the former senior infrastructure security director who designed the security protocols that were bypassed. I walked to the witness table, raised my right hand, and swore to tell the truth. After 40 years of government service, the oath felt familiar and reassuring. Mr. Stevenson, Congressman Rodriguez began, please explain to the committee what Tyler Madison did on the night of March 15th. For the next 45 minutes, I walked the committee through Tyler's security bypasses in methodical detail. I explained each protocol he'd disabled, why those protocols existed, and what vulnerabilities his actions had created. The committee members asked sharp questions about classification levels, potential damage assessments, and the timeline of events. Mr. Stevenson asked Congresswoman Patricia Wells, in your professional opinion, could a foreign adversary have exploited the vulnerabilities Mr. Madison created? Yes, ma'am. The Meridian Defense System coordinates early warning networks for ballistic missile threats. Tyler's bypasses exposed real-time tracking data, response protocols, and defensive positions. A sophisticated adversary could have mapped our entire missile defense grid. The room was silent except for the clicking of cameras and reporters typing notes. And Mr. Madison terminated your employment the morning after creating these vulnerabilities? Yes, ma'am. I was fired via company-wide email at 8:15 a.m., approximately 9 hours after the security protocols were bypassed. Congressman Rodriguez turned to Tyler. Mr. Madison, you've claimed these vulnerabilities were pre-existing, that Mr. Stevenson failed to properly secure the systems. Do you maintain that position? Tyler's lead attorney whispered urgently in his ear before Tyler answered. Congressman, on advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Madison, are you aware that we have text messages you sent after bypassing these security protocols? Messages where you bragged about clearing out roadblocks and showing Pentagon dinosaurs what real innovation looks like. Tyler's face went red. I invoke the Fifth Amendment. Mr. Madison, did you consult with cybersecurity experts before overriding federal security protocols? Fifth Amendment. Did you consider the potential national security implications of your actions? Fifth Amendment. It went on like that for another 30 minutes. Tyler pleading the fifth to every substantive question while the evidence of his reckless endangerment of national security piled up in public view. By the end, he looked like a petulant child caught breaking something valuable. Congressman Rodriguez wrapped up the hearing with a statement that made headlines. This committee has heard testimony about how inexperience, arrogance, and disregard for proper procedures nearly compromised America's missile defense systems. We will not allow such reckless endangerment of national security to go unpunished. After the hearing, Sarah and I were approached by James Harper and several other Pentagon officials. Bob, James said, I've got a proposition for you. The Department of Defense needs someone to review security protocols at all major defense contractors. Someone who understands both the technical requirements and the stakes involved. Interested? 6 months later, Tyler Madison was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison and 5 years of probation. He was banned from working on government contracts permanently and lost his security clearance. Richard Madison received 2 years for conspiracy to violate national security protocols. Blackstone Defense Systems lost the $95 million Meridian contract and 2 other major projects, with their stock price falling 40% in the aftermath. I now work as Senior Cybersecurity Consultant for the House Subcommittee on Infrastructure Protection. My job is to review security protocols at defense contractors and testify before Congress when those protocols are violated. It's satisfying work. When I find problems, they get fixed. When I recommend changes, they get implemented. Nobody dismisses my outdated approaches because everyone understands what happens when proper procedures are ignored. Sarah finished her chemo treatments and got the all clear from her oncologist. Our son Brian graduated college and found a job with a cybersecurity firm that actually values experience and proper procedures. Every morning I wake up knowing my work helps protect the country I swore to defend 40 years ago. The lesson I take from all this is simple. Experience matters, especially when mistakes have life and death consequences. Tyler Madison thought he could revolutionize defense cybersecurity by ignoring lessons learned by previous generations. Instead, he proved why those lessons exist in the first place. Age discrimination is real, and it's tempting for companies to replace experienced workers with cheaper, younger alternatives. But there's a difference between being old-fashioned and being experienced. Tyler never learned that difference, and it cost him everything. As for me, I'm not planning to retire anytime soon. There's too much work to be done, too many systems to secure, too many young hotshots who think innovation means ignoring safety protocols. Someone has to keep watch, make sure the people protecting our country have the wisdom and procedures they need. That someone might as well be me.